We're still waiting for a little bit, so then I'm gonna keep us on mute for the time being.
The team is set up. Good evening, everyone. Here at 6:38 on Thursday, November 16th. We are starting our Common Council Finance Committee meeting to look at the budget relating to City Hall and all that it controls and surveys. Welcome, everyone. We will start with human rights. Uh, 56.
56?
56 in the book. Remember now, it's all in alphabetical order.
Yeah, so just sort of those two, there's an index about 4 or 5 pages in. Much easier to say, where is it? Yes. Comes out quicker.
That's right.
Okay, here we are. This is new, right? This wasn't there, the index, we never had the index.
All right, are we ready? We ready? Whopping $25 difference in your budget?
What an outrage.
No. I'm pretty simple.
And how are things going in the office there?
Going good now that I'm back in the office. Not sure if you all heard, the big week, my office was one of the offices. I had it, so, so I was out there for a little while, but everything's running smoothly now.
Big league is over now.
Yes.
Great league.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever end up working with the county office of human rights?
I just spoke with Joe about a week and a half ago. And we are setting up a meeting to be able to start to, work together.
Okay.
And, but I do meet with, the state. We have quarterly meetings, so I do meet with the state, we do collab with each other, see what each other are doing, help each other out.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're in touch with the county. I think they've got a really good director now over there.
Yes, Joy.
Go ahead.
So a couple of years ago, you had said that most of your calls were that you get received or around housing, and I'm just wondering if that's the same or
Yes.
different issues.
Even more so now, especially with the housing crises and landlords jacking up rents and tenants being, scared that they're going to be evicted. Just the whole process. And one of the things that we try to do is to inform tenants of the new rent laws that has been passed down from the state. And then tenants know that, if you can come up with the rent by the time the court date comes, the landlord cannot refuse, to accept the rent and stuff like that. So a lot of, they really don't know a lot of things, so that's one of the things that we're trying to shoot for, educate.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right, and I'm also aware that the city has a relationship with Legal Services of the Hudson Valley now.
Yes.
Yes, and I've recommended that to a couple of my constituents who call with questions, but I could also send them to you too. Okay,
Yeah, because I have, I actually have publications on it from the Attorney General's office as well as the New York State Human Rights. So all different things, so there's tons of publications out there.
great.
I do get, individuals that come down, and go through and get information.
It's a good resource, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the residents of Kingston are clear on your office's existence and what you do? Or do you feel like there might be the need to advertise, publicize further your services?
It's mixed. What we're realizing, those who live in Kingston, they know, but we're getting people who are new to the area, who, we're starting to see that they're trying, okay, because the office is here, so
And the kind of services that you provide spans all kinds of human rights issues.
Yes.
So rent, discrimination, employment discrimination. Okay, it's good to know too.
A lot of the resources that we have that are down there, that's from the Attorney General's office, they range from like what to do, you know, as far as like, if you're living wills and different things like lead in the building, your houses, or mold, and, you know, service animals, like there's tons of stuff. Like it's not
that's good to
just
know.
discrimination, it's a whole bunch of different areas.
Oh, good. I'll start telling people about you then.
Awesome.
Have you guys met?
No,
Sarah joined us in
August,
August.
Ward 1.
Okay.
Wait, and your name?
Tawana.
Tawana.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard your name, but it's nice to meet you.
Yes.
Anything else? Any other questions, comments? All right, thanks, Luana.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
All right. Next, we're going to move to civil service. Which raises the question, how civil is civil service?
I don't think we've met in person.
No, we haven't. Yes, you did. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Welcome, Jackie. So what's going on in your budget? Anything we need to know? What are the secrets? Where's the gossip in here?
I don't think there's any secrets. Actually, looks like it went down. But it went down. We're working on getting software, with ARPA funds that we're hoping will not only help the civil service as far as our paperwork and all of our personnel files, but also will help in recruitment. So we'll be able to, have people apply online, which seems to be high demand. Right now, you know, when I post on Indeed, I have to respond to everyone that is interested and tell them that they have to go to the website, print the application and mail it in. And that seems to frustrate a lot of them. As far as advertising, I've mainly been using Indeed, but recently I tried, it's called Better Team. And that made, I got a lot of hits on that for, I tried our housing code inspector on there. Got a lot of hits on that, so, maybe looking at possibly having a subscription with them for the year. So that's what I have the advertising there for.
And I have a question about the service contracts. Is there one that you're looking to purchase this or something you're?
Yeah, it's already in the works. It's called NeoGov is the company. Several agencies in New York State use them. And we were doing a piggyback agreement off of Cayuga County.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so they used to be called Discover eGov, and then they merged with NeoGov. But the people that do Discover eGov are New York based, and
Okay.
they're still the ones that will be setting it all up, and that's who we'll be working with.
And that's the online portal that you were
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah, Ulster County, recently, I'm not sure how long ago, but they're on with them.
Okay,
So if you were to go to Ulster County Civil Service website now and look at their jobs, you'll notice that it goes to a different website. It looks like it's still Ulster County, but NeoGov is who actually is the backing of it. And so it does look different, but it's much easier to look at the announcements and we're hoping we'll be able to get to the point where we'll be able to put the eligible lists online so people can go around online and see it and not have to actually come to our office. So,
so ours will look a lot like what Ulster County's does now?
yes, not their, you have to actually go into like their exam announcements to see what I'm talking about.
Okay,
But if you go in there, you'll see that it's a lot different than, like what ours is now is just basically what we're locked into. But
right.
once we do the software, it'll give us a little bit more for our exams and our announcements. and everything, yeah.
You get a lot of inquiries about what's coming up in the world of civil service, as far as asking people call just to find out what's coming up, if something might be of interest to them, or they just go to the website.
We spent a great deal of time on the phone educating people about civil service and the process and how it goes.
Yeah.
Right now, we're working on, in fire, we're offering another fighter exam in January. The most challenging one right now is police, obviously, so we're looking at different things to try and do with police. One of the things that we're trying out is doing a continuous recruitment with the physical agility exam. So at least give them, we were always one shot deal.
Yeah.
You fail it, that's it, you wait till we get the exam again. But now we're gonna do it twice a year. Once they pass it, then they qualify to take the written.
And the written will still be once a year, but they could hold on to
Yes.
that.
For now, the written is once a year. The state is working on turning that into a continuous recruitment, which would be great. But it's difficult. We exhausted our police officer list in, I think August or September. We gave the new exam in September. The state, in their attempt to try and help, they allowed us to ask for a list from the state. And they sent us a list of 187 names. I reached out to all of them, see if anyone that was interested in working for the city of Kingston. Ended up with about 18 people responding that they were gonna show up to physical agility last Saturday. 5 people showed up. So that was a little discouraging, to say the least, but the results have come back in for our latest one, so once we finish with the state one, we'll have our new list, but it's very, police is tough.
Can we at least sue the people who didn't show up?
Give me a year and a half and I'll do it.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough to get people interested. It's tough to get them to be able to pass physical agility. And I think the state is also looking at that aspect of it. From what I've been told, they are looking to maybe revamp the physical agility test.
So how, now that that's offered twice a year and the written is still, for now, offered once, would that be, if you pass it, in whatever, February, you then have to wait and then that holds for a year, or?
It will hold until
So
our exams will be in September.
And if you don't pass the written test, then you have to do both together?
Yeah. We also open it up to accept, results from other agencies. So if they passed a physical agility with another agency, as long as it was monitored by a civil service, staff, and it's signed off by them, we'll accept those as long as it was within a year. Most agencies have done that. We never did it. So we're always sharing our results with other agencies. Now we can take them. And we're also, next year when we do whenever they do the, police academy, they're gonna ask us to be present. Police academy, physical agility requirements are higher than that of what civil service does. So if we at least witness the academy one, the people that are going through that will accept their results as well. Good. We're trying to find new ways of
Attracting people,
yeah. So, but it's a long process with police, because then they have to do background checks and all of that, so.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, any questions? Any further questions, comments?
All right. Well,
All right, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Come on, join us at the big table.
This is only one.
Oh. Looks like the main substantive change is a little bit less in contracted services.
Yes, we went down a little bit in contracted services. I think that's the only major change.
Is there something specific going on there, or?
I think some of the, citywide mailings that we did came in a little bit cheaper than we estimated. I think I had like 7,000 for that in last year's budget, and it came in well under that. That was for the zoning postcard that we did. And I think I still have enough if you want to
Yeah, I do.
do the, snow emergency, I still have like 4,000, which hopefully will cover it.
Yeah, I think those cards were very effective.
Yeah, when Ed and Ryan were sure if they were gonna have to change streets, but I think it's okay, so they should have the information, so we could touch base in the next few days.
Definitely, because.
I know, yeah. No, we're not gonna, stop it.
No, that's.
Other questions?
It's pretty straightforward. Have you guys met Summer?
Yes, okay.
All right, I think that does it for the Office of Communism and Communications. All right. Thank you, Summer.
Thanks, Summer.
Next up is Information Technology. Be nice to Kyle because he knows everything about all of this. Kyle, what's going on in your budget?
Your paperwork, I think, shows a little bit of a decrease on service contracts, if
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Which is mostly, there is one item that was pulled out to go to ARPA funding for short-term rental software.
Oh, that's part of, yeah, the 17,000.
Oh, well, that was part, actually, it's more than that. And part of that was, part of the other changes, some of the monies that were allocated for some items specifically in the city budget have been moved to wastewater, a percentage of them.
Okay.
We saw that the other night. Yeah.
That's pretty much the only movement, so. I do have a breakdown too. I do a detail on that.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Because last year was this past year, or this current year, I guess, is the year that we added IT for our meetings, and I know that's coming out of overtime. How is that?
So far, we're doing pretty good because one employee keeps choosing council. So it actually has a really, he's choosing council, which has been helpful. So I haven't really been concerned. I don't see an issue with it going forward because.
It makes a huge difference for
Yeah,
us
yeah,
to have somebody there, so
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that that's.
So far, we're good. I think the way I would do the approach, if I started to get low like halfway through the year, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Are you looking at all at completely replacing the city website?
Yes, we have a contract for us with the existing vendor to get a free reskin, as I call it. We just lock in a term.
What does that mean?
We already pay them an annual amount, and if we will lock in a term, I think it was we have it currently being reviewed by Corp Council, then we can get a free reskin. They've been bought out by another company, they want to move us to the other product. That's part of it, so.
So does that mean that the website would actually be usable?
It'll be completely redone on the other software.
Okay.
And what is the other software?
I don't know what they call it, but it's, so we used to have our website under QSend Technologies, they've been bought out by Catalyst. I think GovSend is the other one I think I remember right, that GovSend, the other company that's been merging with them also. That will be hosting it, so. So that is close, we were hoping to have it sooner, but it's not, some pieces were dragging for a while, so not on our side, on their side.
So you say new skin, do you mean like a new interface?
No, so they're gonna take over existing data and basically bring that to their new layouts. We have a few layouts before us to choose from, but then go on to the newer software that's more modern and more functional for mobile and everything like that. But we're not having somebody come in and completely redo all the data on the website. That's being pretty much carried over. So Summer actually has been doing a lot of work to try and condense some of that. I've been doing a bit trying to delete some of the pages. We have to get it below a certain number for our free number. So.
All right, other questions, Kyle?
How's it going protecting us from cyber attacks?
Always a blast. always, I'm trying to, the ones that we send out to you guys are definitely probably harder than most of the real ones. But I definitely trick some people up, so.
Did you send that letter from the Swedish lady?
We didn't do one recently, that'd be one real.
Okay, did you all?
I didn't get it, I haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, a couple of us got a letter from the Swedish lady who's like, wanted to like be pen pals.
Yeah, I got that.
I was like, why would you send us an electronic email to be pen pals?
Yes, I got you.
Because it's 2023, that's how you.
That's not a pen.
I haven't seen that one. One of the items actually in my service contract is to, beyond just a spam filter, to add a level of behavior analysis to everybody's emails to try and detect more fraud. Emails. We do get a lot of, hey, I want to change my direct deposit or something like that. Or contact me and then, can you go buy me some gift cards at the store? Nobody falls for it. It doesn't follow any of our policies internally to be able to change everything, but I see them a lot. They make it through the spam filter because there's no damage being done in the initial email. So there is a product that two products I found, and one of them was in this purchase.
I have received quite a few of the mayor being stuck under
Yeah.
his desk and needing to buy gift cards.
He's a constant target. Anybody on the website really is already.
I don't think I've ever gotten these emails before.
Are you getting jealous now?
Can you help me buy some Apple gift cards? I'm stuck under my
They
desk.
seem to target these based on what position you're at. So like myself and individuals in my office will get direct deposit emails.
Yes,
So, we have a protocol in place that verify.
Yeah,
I got one a couple of weeks ago.
What's that?
I got one about 2 or 3 weeks ago saying I was caught on the camera on the street. I was charged with reckless driving. Please submit $482.
Oh, my God.
Could there be any more obvious?
And that's what the service is supposed to help with those, but it's always a cat and mouse game. The spam filter that we have, that was not enough with just somebody reporting it. If you're first or it's modified enough for the next person or the next place it's getting hit, they're getting through the cracks every time. Unfortunately.
And what
I
about,
called Chief Tinty. I said, this can't be a real thing, is it? He said, no, I'll get rid of that.
what about like a larger cyber attack issue like happened in the hospital recently?
There is something else in here for that. We already have some things that are already in place. There's also more that I'm adding that's proposed here also.
Okay, and those are covered under your budget.
That's what was
That's
split out between wastewater and into the IT budget directly.
Yeah, they don't need to be in the capital.
We had done the initial one 2 years ago, and there's another request here for another piece of it this year.
Does the threat of cyber attacks bring our city insurance up?
So,
We have a step, yeah.
yeah, our cyber liability insurance is factored in. I think you guys did the clerk's office insurance budget already, but a big part of what has gone up has been the cyber liability. It's probably doubled in cost the last 2 years.
Yeah. that's what-
And we've had to work with Kyle to,
The forms used to take an hour to fill out, now they take 2 days.
and we've had to add,
Services to.
authentication to all our devices, and, the two-factor authentication now needed for all your devices. So it's just very,
A lot of time.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
One
some things that
time.
we have to do just to even be able to be eligible for the insurance or get offered insurance from carriers. So
Thank you.
that whole process is helpful.
Right, well, anything else for Kyle? Kyle, we really appreciate all the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank God. Big on.
Next up is Arts and Cultural Affairs. Kit. Kit, we can see what you're doing from the reflection in your glasses. We can see what you're doing online. Didn't know you were a Calvin and Hobbes fan. Can you unmute yourself?
I don't know if she wants. to.
I'm here. I'm sorry. Hi.
There we
I
go.
thought Andrea had to unmute me. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone.
No control. I like it that way.
All right, Arts and Cultural Affairs, any big news in your budget here? Anything we need to?
Yeah, we bought it down. We bought it down by about 25,000. The reason is because this year, and it took me a while, as you all know, I was appointed last January, and I was handed this master plan that you all approved. And one of the main priorities of that master plan was a public art policy for the city of Kingston. That's pretty huge. And so it took a while for me to do some research, what happened, what do we need? We have a vast art collection. We have statues, we have monuments that are absolutely precious. And much of this have been neglected. That was one of Ruth Ann, her items that she had for me that she was most concerned about, as well as the mayor. So we have hired Jennifer McGregor. We're starting, we have an amazing committee. And of course, my commissioners, several of them are experts in this as well. And working with this consultant, we are planning to present to the Common Council for approval a municipal art plan and public art policy and document by June. So we don't anticipate needing another consultant after we do this, because we'll be moving into the implementation phase for this. This plan also will include a funding plan, very comprehensive one. It's not going to just list possible funding sources. We're going to be heavily vetting funding sources that could help us to support and sustain our existing collection, as well as commission new art. Also, the support for my office to sustain my office, because right now, as you know, it's supported by only one funding source. And also as far as the public art policy is concerned and the implementation of that.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Did you want to ask first?
Go ahead.
Hi, Kit, can you, maybe you don't know this because maybe this is part of the process, but can you tell us if there's any kind of public engagement in terms of the art policy, what the commissioner board is going to be doing along the lines before it presents to the council, or is it going to present?
Absolutely.
To the council? Can you just go over that a little bit with us?
Absolutely, that's being worked on. As far as the community engagement, that's going to be part of this plan. But yes, we're embarking upon that now. The first phase is meeting, and Jennifer McGregor has met with a lot of the city key stakeholders. Common Council is included in this. And then as far as public engagement in this, I lost you.
You're good.
Did I lose you? As far as, I just lost my screen. As far as public engagement is concerned, we're going district by district. That's why we have to meet with individuals in the Common Council first for this advice, because we really don't want to have public hearings in one place. We want to move around. Jennifer McGregor and I are going to move around to the various areas, neighborhoods, the bubble, the churches, and actually engage the public so that, first of all, the public knows what we're working on. There's so many rumors that are going around. We want to quell those rumors before we even, get to the point of, because we're going in phases. First, we're working on municipal art, then funding, then we're going to, get knee deep in the public art policy. But we also want to make sure that the community understands what we're working on. The key word here is municipal. We're not looking at private. We're just looking at municipal. I think that's where we went south the last time. So this time we are going to definitely be working with quite a bit of the art organizations as well in this, and otherwise. Did I answer your question?
No, yeah, that was great. I was hoping that there was a plan, or at least a plan to make a plan as you move forward.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Great. Other questions? Go ahead, Drew.
Okay, so I see that in your New York State retirement, you had retirement, and for 2024, there's nothing. What happened there?
Well, I'm already in the New York State retirement system. So I've communicated with the city that I'm not eligible to contribute to it. So that was moved. John can explain that better than I can, because he speaks that language. I don't. But yes, I did catch that. And I just made sure that it was made aware that I can no longer receive contributions or contribute to the New York State retirement system because I'm already in it.
Oh, I thought it meant you were just never going to retire.
Well, I'm not. Look at me.
When you love what you do, you can stay there forever.
Okay. Thanks, kid.
Sure.
And then the grants, that's gone up a little bit, so I guess that's good, but is that for the programs you've already discussed, or are there other programs involved there?
The grants, I'm talking about the funding plan. We are identifying it in the
The
funding.
bottom line there, the revenue grants went up from 106,000 to 117,000.
Well, that's for the existing funding source that we have been relying on for quite a while. And that's why we are looking to develop a funding plan to diversify our funding sources.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Did I answer your question?
Well, yeah, what is the plan to diversify funding sources for?
We don't know yet. We're working on that. That's what the consultant is working on. She's digging in and doing the research on that which we would be eligible for. She's going to be working closely with Ruth Ann on that, and also might have some questions for John Dewey on that as well. Depends on, and also, we have been approached by, quite a few businesses that would love to sponsor some of our activities. We are going to be working on all of that this year so that we can, be able to receive more funding than just the one funding source. But we have not identified them yet.
Anything else?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I also want to mention that after this year's burning of Kingston, we've been approached by several, we've been heralded by New York State for including the indigenous story, the slave story, what went on across the pond. And we've been invited by, I think Taylor said, 2 funding sources to apply for funding for next year. We're leading into the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War, and all of the historians in the state are looking at Kingston because they want to have the big one here. So every year we're going to be building. And I'm really happy that, we got these notifications after this year's burning of Kingston that people are, I was worried about that. I told the mayor, it's like they can descend upon us, but we're going to need more money. And we've been invited to apply from 2 sources already. So looking good.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, Ulster County already has a Revolutionary War ceremonial committee in place and is working on a lot of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your ears open for that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I just want to say, I again, that I just love all the vibrancy that you bring to the city and City Hall. So
Thank you. I appreciate you. I have to, what I have to be careful about, and I want to meet with each of you about this to help me and guide me on this. I'm Kit Potter. I wear about 6 to 7 hats. I am finding myself doing a lot of quote, quote, consulting services for individuals and organizations. And that's not, I don't think, what this office does. Maybe in the future, but for now, we're a party of one. And I really have to hone in on the specifics on what are the priorities for the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs. So I would really appreciate your help, your guidance on what you think, because you know this city, on what you think should be the priorities and the services that we provide. Drew Andrews calls me the glue. I'm really good at, getting people together and, finding ways that they collaborate together and seeking funding and what have you, but it has become a little overwhelming. Last year, I showed up at about 300 events. I probably showed up at more this year because they need to see my face. After I help them, they need to see me, but I'm only one person. So it would be very helpful if I could get, your guidance, your ideas on what the priorities of the office should be beyond the master plan. And so that's realistic for the person who I hand the baton down to.
A Picasso in every house. All right. Good. Thank you very much, Kim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kit.
Next up is the mayor. And after the Mayor Housing Initiative, Bartek, get ready. You're on deck.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of change. I think the biggest change in our budget for 2024 in my office is just the 5th and final year of our 5-year plan to bring the mayor's salary from what was 75,000 up to 100. And so this would finalize that process with the 2024 budget. And so you'll see that in there, and that is most of the change that was kind of within our control in the budget.
Okay, so folks who are new, just to build on what the mayor said, several years ago, we did a comparison study of salaries for mayors who are in similar sized cities and who do similar types of work. Some mayors are more ceremonial
Right.
and they don't do the kind of day-to-day work that our mayor is required to do. So the idea was we wanted to have a competitive salary so that in elections, we would draw good candidates, if you will. Another way of trying to think of the employee that we would hire for mayor, right? And so that's been the process. And so Steve, this is the last year of that increase to bring that up to about $100,000, not including the various benefits. All right. Any questions there? Concerns, issues? Any other questions for the mayor? We can let him off this easily.
I'll be
I mean, I
here.
think that's a very fair salary for all the work you do. I mean, yeah, I know how much you do and I know what other mayors do and other city administrators, so I think it's very fair.
All right.
All right, thank you.
And Mayor. Bartek. What do you
Hi.
spend money on, man?
No major changes for my budget this year. There are small increases in my general materials and supplies, and also in my minor equipment budget, so I can buy a laptop for the department. And for the supplies budget, I do have fair amount of community meetings, and I do find that putting out some light snacks and drinks is helpful. And so that's where that increase, that's the justification for that increase.
Okay. So you're saying you need a laptop that Abacus is coming to the end of its life?
My current laptop is from maybe 15 years ago. And so I use my personal laptop, and it's probably best that I use a city one.
Yeah, let's get you a new laptop.
How heavy is it?
Very heavy. And very.
Then you'll need a gym membership after you get rid of that laptop. All right, any questions for Bartek?
Well, I'm seeing on this, the list of variances, I'm seeing school tax, general tax. And that's, yes, an increase in $10,000. And what is that?
Yeah, so that's actually not the housing initiatives budget. That's the, let's see what the official name is, expenses on property acquired for taxes. And so this budget 1364 is all the expenses related to properties that we've taken for back taxes. And so I am managing all those properties. And so this addition, and John could perhaps speak to this a little bit more, but some of the properties that are acquired could potentially be liable for taxes in certain cases when they're not exempt. So I believe that's the justification for that increase.
Is that something that we didn't, because I see that it was 0 before and 10,000, because
Yeah, we haven't taken that into account in previous years.
But we've had to still pay in previous years, right?
I believe
23, so even though the budget's 0, if there isn't a budget transfer in place, there will be. For 2023, we had to pay, I don't have the dollar amount, but I can tell you it was close to $10,000 for school taxes.
Okay.
But that was 2023 was the first year.
Is it something that is Tyler, the benefit liability that we could, is this being considered with all the considerations to that case?
It's let's just say that's based upon the status on the tax roll of these properties. Now, these properties were designated as taxable for school tax purposes on the assessment roll.
it is somewhat related to that case though, Andrea, because the case is impacting our ability to sell those properties.
That I would recommend.
Yeah.
To attorney client session if we need to discuss further.
Well, I mean, I'm very interested in this, but I probably am the only one that would be able to do this,
Yeah.
so. But it-
So I
so
think,
you do want to?
Okay, I don't know that we
but we don't need
need to do it now as part of the budget, I think.
No.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
another
that's why
time.
I'm not, like,
Yeah.
I can hold off, I don't need to.
We also don't have corporate counsel present.
We do.
Oh, we do?
She can call in.
She's in a little box?
Yeah, she's listening. See that fly on the wall? That's right.
All right. Yeah, I think, well, I think it would be a good idea for us to meet with Barbara at some point to talk about the developing ramifications of that case.
Yes,
Because it's gonna mean a lot for us down the road. But not right at this moment. Right? It's not,
I feel like, yeah.
it's not gonna affect the budget. Right? Nope, yep, okay. Or, you know, we just wait a year and a half, you can consult yourself. All right, any other questions for Bartek?
no,
Issues? All right, thank you for all the work you're doing, Bartek, we appreciate
yes,
it.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Health and wellness. Emily, you're back. You had so much fun last night, you're like,
Punch card. Punch service and go. Anybody? What a handout, I love a handout, because we're learning about me. This explains my budget a little bit more in detail, because I have a few different programs in my department. So if you want to dive into my different budget lines, I can explain it a little bit better. Your budget is about the same as last year. My department is almost fully grant funded. And I've got two sort of programs that we run. And so a lot of the difference in variances really depend on how much we spend for those programs. The second one is reimbursement based, so basically we get reimbursed for whatever we spend. So it kind of depends greatly on how much that program spends now, and then we will get reimbursed for it.
And what are the two funding sources that are funding these programs?
Sure, and if you don't, let me also tell you what they're for.
Yes, that was, yes, sure.
I know some of you know this already, so I'll try to be brief. but
Okay.
maybe a few. So, my department, when it was first started to coordinate the Live Well Kingston Health Commission.
Mhm.
And I can go into that time, but so that is funded by a private foundation, the Nova Foundation.
Oh, no,
We get $150,000 a year from them. This is the third year, 3-year grant. I anticipate we'll be invited to apply again, but for this year, we already have the money in the budget line. The second program is a 5-year grant. That's a New York State Department of Health grant called Creating Healthy Schools and Communities.
oh, okay,
And that's roughly around $300,000 a year. It was a 1.5 million for 5-year grant. We're going into year 3.
that's great.
Yeah, it's really great. And we subcontract. So a lot of the contracted expenses is we subcontract with Family of Woodstock and Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Mhm.
It's all about creative activity, physical activity and nutrition in different locations, the community, early childcare, and the school system. A lot of the stuff I talked to you last night about the master plan kind of overlays, it's adjacent to that work, so it works really nicely. That's great. I can go into depth about more of it, but so a lot of funding is to,
Yeah, you guys have been very busy.
No, and I just noticed there was a 37,000 variance in contracted services. Is that because there was a program that took place last year that's not resuming in this year, or?
a little bit, yeah, actually, about, so our first year of the CHISC grant, that's the Korean Community Schools, we call it CHISC. To abbreviate it, so just, so I don't have to say that every single time.
Uh-huh.
We didn't spend our full amount in the first year. So the New York State Department of Health gave us sort of almost a bonus grant of $42,000
Okay.
that we're spending in 2023. And that is funding the Green Line wayfinding plan that I'm currently doing. So it's a signage plan for the trails and the streets.
Okay,
But so, right, we didn't get a sort of bonus grant that we know of yet for 2024.
Okay.
I don't anticipate it, quite honestly. I think we'll get just our normal amount for the year.
thank you. That's great.
anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for all the
Thank
work that you do.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
We feel luckier just for having you in a day.
Seriously.
Next is community development.
Okay.
Page 31.
There we go. All right, how are you tonight? Welcome. What's the exciting news in your budget? Well, then our task is to come up some for you. It looks like you're virtually at the same spot cost-wise from a year ago, so no big changes there. Anything anybody wants to ask me about?
I know that you'll have your office will be working on the 5-year comprehensive plan for community block. Is there anything that would require the council to be involved? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, come January, I have bi-weekly meetings with the consultant. So starting January, there will be a schedule put together of when they want to meet with the stakeholders, when public meetings will be, when they want to meet with the council. They'll meet with you guys a couple of times, and then they'll present the draft 5-year comp plan to you. And then if everything is set with that, then you guys will pass it, and it'll be sent on to HUD. And then we'll start the first year of our 5-year comp plan.
And what's the deadline on getting all of that?
It has to be done and submitted it's gonna be by the end of May, because, because we always, or I, anyway, try to get the plans done ahead of time, because our fiscal year starts, July 1st and ends June 30th. And it takes them upwards of 90 days to review the plans. So if they have an issue with it, I wanna make sure that we have enough time to fix it so that we get our funding.
Okay, great.
Anything else? How do you speak with the outside world?
Just like this?
Really? That's because you don't have telephone anymore.
No, I don't.
What happened to your telephone?
I don't. Well, they call the office and I talk to them that way.
I see $1,000 for telephone and it's now zero.
As it is, I carry two phones, one personal, one for my other business, so I'm carrying 3 cell phones, doesn't really work.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Good luck, good job.
And it was, originally, the cell phone was for more, we had more people in the office, so everybody had a cell phone.
Okay,
So, I mean, it doesn't make sense to waste city money.
okay. All right, thank you for that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
That's it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Mandy.
Next up is planning. There's nothing to do in planning, is there? All right, see what's going on with this budget.
Okay, well, which one do you want to start? I'm going to start, starts in 61, so I've got the historian.
Go in order.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Easier. So historian would be the first one. That's Taylor Bruck, is our historian. His contract will be expiring at the end of this year, but I've talked to him. He's going to be renegotiating another extended multi-year contract. He said he's not going to be asking for anything different. So I'm still putting that, I'm keeping that at the $750 for the year for him. He also asked for money to support some of the work that he does, do seminars and whatnot for $750. So I'll put that in as well. And he did request some additional funds for marketing for the burning of Kingston. I believe the mayor was going to try and look at the arts, maybe and culture programming. So we do that at this point.
But he'll have access to do something.
Yes, as Kim mentioned, she's working on some grants to be
Right.
able to help support, and so we figured before we jump into paying for some taxpayer dollars, let's try to go down the grants and some of our other, and there may be some ARPA funds that we can
Okay,
weave in.
so that's that one. Okay, so then you have historical property, that's what used to be the Landmarks Commission. And it now also incorporates, the Lighthouse and the Volunteer Firemen's Museum uptown. So it has, one staff person, which is, the Historic Preservation Administrator in my office, who was made from part-time to full-time. So that is in there this year. And that position was originally under planning. It got moved into this account. And that's why I also included a little bit of overtime, because he does he's required to come to mandatory evening meetings, and he has the option of overtime or comp time. So I want to make sure that there is something in the budget if that's what he opts out for. Everything else is pretty much, I think, status quo. In that, we did put a little bit, I think, extra money in contracted services, and that is primarily for the Volunteer Firemen's Museum. There's some work that needs to get done. I'm trying to utilize in-house services as best I can with DPW, coordinating with DPW and some of the other departments. But in some cases, I just can't do that. So, and we do expect, hopefully, my fingers are crossed, the lighthouse will be back up online with electricity next summer.
Oh,
It's my goal. That is our goal. We're running into a few little technical difficulties, but we're trying to work this out.
I didn't realize it was without electricity.
Yeah, Hurricane Sandy wiped it out
Oh, my
completely. And yeah, it has been without power, so it's taken a little bit of time, coordination between Army Corps, DEC, getting easements, getting designs, trying to figure out cabling, everything's gotta get elevated, and yeah, it's all new.
Okay.
So, yeah. So Hudson didn't rip it out, we would be okay.
Finding an extension cord that's long enough.
Yeah. It's tough, it's not easy when you don't have actual physical access to it. It's not an easy job, so.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay, let's see, planning is next. So with planning, not too much has changed. I include a request for another full-time position all year. The mayor's put it in for half a year, so it will start in mid-year. Hopefully we'll be advertising. We've had a little bit of interest. So that would.
I'm sorry, what was that position?
That would be the junior planning aide, yeah. The city did though, at the same time, we've also, we applied for with the assistance of the grants department, and other departments, we applied under the urban forestry grant. We did get a grant for a position of an urban forester. So that would be, yeah, so hopefully those contracts will be coming through soon, and we'll be seeking a position. So that will cover a little bit of, needed expertise and assistance, both with us and DPW and Parks and Rec.
what's this vacation payback?
That's part of the management, agreement. Department heads are eligible to, get vacation paid out. So you don't take it, you get paid for it. So I pretty much opt for that every year because I can't use the time. So rather than lose it, I get paid for it.
Come on, you like the money, come on.
Well, vacation also sounds really nice.
It's just the amount of time, between, I just don't, I can't use it, and, yeah.
I work 7 days a week, I understand.
All right,
Okay.
good.
Any questions?
Any questions about that?
Next is shade tree, or no, well, heritage has been removed.
Right.
And shade trees, that's the last one, and, pretty much again, status quo. The contracted services, is in there, for 20,000. I did ask for 25, we cut it down to 20, which is what we have this year. And that's basically planting street trees. My thought is that I might take that and divide it up and come up with a program to assist property owners with a stipend. And it would be to offset the costs of pruning or tree removal, because as you're all aware, the property owners are responsible for the street trees that are in front of their homes. And you know, we get the lovely job of telling people that you have to take down your tree because it's dead, or or insurance companies are notifying people, that we're not going to insure your homeowners is in jeopardy because the root systems are uprooting things, or they're creating problems with sewer laterals, water lines, what have you. And for people, it's an expense, it's an unexpected, unplanned expense sometimes, and it's a burden. And I think it's a good measure on the city's behalf, to really step up and, say, hey, okay, if you do it, we'll be eligible for a stipend of $500. I mean, I don't have the program laid out, but it's something. It's a little bone to throw, I think.
It's great.
I think people would appreciate that a great deal.
Yeah, they would
I have
still
one
need
neighbor
to
who's
go
facing
through the
that,
tree
yeah.
commission. It's not like they would be circumventing a review process. They still need to go through a process. And it would be ones that, we say, if it's a dead tree, we would say, yeah, it has to be removed. You can't just remove any tree and then expect to be reimbursed.
Got it.
So it'd be something that the tree commission is basically telling a property owner that they must
Yes,
take
remove.
it, remove it. It's not for people who are just coming in and saying, I would like this tree removed.
Right.
And how much, like, a range does it typically cost?
It can range, I mean, there's so many variables, size, wires, any, other things that are around it, but I mean, it can cost upwards of, $4,500, $5,000 for some trees. And that includes obviously not only taking it down, but disposing, stump grinding and grading everything back and maybe resetting a sidewalk if it's needed, so it's involved.
Because that's also on the property owner too, right? Redoing the
Yes,
sidewalk?
Yes, and that's what drives a lot of the requests. Actually, the sidewalks, tripping, they get reported as tripping hazards. And, so we've been able to work with a lot of property owners on ways or measures to, pull up sidewalks, shave some of the root systems, maybe reroute a sidewalk here and there if there's available room. You can bring in fill material, you can raise and lower. Sidewalks do not have to be 100% flat. They can go up and down, and then they can curve. So there are ways, in some cases you just can't avoid it.
How is I may just be late to the party on this, because another tree commissioner was working on being able to supply people with lists of trees that would be.
We have that.
That's, I wasn't sure how, I remember that from a while ago.
Yeah,
wasn't sure if that's already in place.
Yep, we have one that's in place, and, we send it with every decision to remove. If someone has to remove a tree, it's pretty standard that the request is made that they replant one in close proximity. And so we do send the list with them. The Memorial Tree Fund also has a program to help offset some of the costs, but their funding is also extremely limited, first come, first serve. And so they probably are able to do maybe 4 or 5 grants a year with their monies, but it's another thing out there, a tool that we use.
I was curious as to how many violations we've seen with people cutting down city trees. Just because when we look at the fee schedule, it's only $25 for someone. If they have the fine,
Yeah,
it's kind of low, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some people look at that and say, I'll pay the fine,
Right.
doesn't matter. Yeah, it's not an incentive to not do it. I would agree with you, and that would be a code change, and that is something that we have talked about. You know, because even though the cost of removing a tree is so high, that somebody would rather do that sometimes and pay that amount of money. $250 is nothing when you're thinking about a $5,000
Right.
bill. It's
That's
nothing.
when we're talking about the fee schedule, we bring that back up, because
Yeah,
we
I think-
addressed the fee schedule over a year, so it'd be helpful to.
That's actually in the code, though. It's actually in the.
Oh,
We can change the
Okay,
language
yeah.
to say for the fee schedule.
Yeah, that's, we can still do,
Yeah.
just extra stuff, but.
Okay.
But do you see, I think Michelle's original question is, do you see many violations of that throughout the city? I mean, because if
We get reports, we have people that, you know, the tree commission has made a decision that, no, we don't want you to take down that tree, and
They do it anyway?
they do it anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
It
And
was-
how many is that per year? Is it like a half a dozen, a dozen?
I would say probably, 15 to 20 are
Okay.
done
Pretty significant.
without
Yeah.
permission. Yeah, I mean, the fee, again, it's more corporation council time and my time. $250 is not gonna.
And when the tree commission says, no, we're not giving you permission to take it down, do they then follow up with saying that if you do, it's a fee? So they are aware of it and they still do it anyway? So yeah, then maybe if it keeps happening, then that is something that we should be addressing.
Great.
Along Franklin Street, is there clear plans to put trees back on Franklin Street?
On Franklin, yeah, I think all of Franklin has been replanted.
All of Franklin has been
That
replanted?
project, yeah, that is done. Henry is the one that is yet to be done. And there will be trees obviously put back along that street. I think Franklin got, I want to say 40-some trees, or maybe more, along the entire stretch.
When were they put in?
2 years ago.
Last year.
That's great.
28 are going on Henry.
28.
And 6 are done already.
Yeah.
The other 22 will be going in the spring.
I'll just take this one card. Yeah, what's up?
Really, you're supposed to tell jokes.
All right, so there's 2 penguins.
We'll never know.
I'll tell later, I think it's a funny story from the history book, but anyway. All
Um,
right,
I had another question. Will we have any resources or grant for people to get street trees that they can plant if they haven't taken a tree down? Like, I know that we had that a couple of years ago where people.
Well, that's
You have
the
access.
20,000
Yeah.
is
Okay.
for trees. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be, I'm not gonna use it all as stipends, I'd like to, 75% of it, 15,000 to do for tree plantings. We used the full 20 this year. We planted some cherries in Academy Green that got to replace the White House pears that got destroyed by a storm. And then we did just regular plantings around citywide, based on people's requests.
Okay.
We had a lot more requests than we could fill. Although, when you look at some of the locations, they were not possible planting sites either. And we don't have the money to excavate, take pavement out, create planting beds, so that would be on an owner to do.
so the issue on Franklin Street was whether all the trees that were planted, are they looking healthy and viable?
We've gotten some concerns submitted about their health and well-being. Obviously, we will be until the springtime and reevaluate them. There was a Franklin Street one, I'm not as familiar with the Public Works project end of it, but my understanding is that a settlement was made, so the warranty is no longer. So if trees do need to be replaced along Franklin, it would be on us, yes, and, you know, potentially some of that money would go towards replacing those trees.
For a lot of these projects, there's a warranty, so they will have to, like on Broadway, I think it was a year, that they had the contractors actually maintained it, and if anything died, they would have to replace it with that warranty.
And the warranty expires, then it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
How's it going with the new zoning code?
It's going.
Okay.
No, I mean, you know, it's a learning curve for everybody. I think we spend a lot more time working with, individuals, answering questions and just, you know, directing them, you know. We're really encouraging people to get on online and use the online interactive versions of the map and the code. Because I think once they start getting used to that and are more comfortable with it, they'll find that it is a lot easier to use. You know, but it's, you know, the smaller people, regular individuals that are and have a little difficulty kind of figuring it out. You know, it's time consuming, but, you know, we're finding our little quirks with it. We're keeping records of things that we think are going to need to be, you know, modified or changed or moved about or changed, well, you know, modified, whatever, but, that's the task force. You know, so like with waivers as an example, we're finding ourselves doing a lot of minor waivers when dealing with signs. You know, or, so we're trying to track those things and trying to see where, you know, things are falling, kind of out of line with maybe what should have been thought about. That was bound to happen, I mean, you know.
Do you think it would be helpful to have some kind of like webinar that the community, that could be created for the community to learn how to navigate critics? So that.
Well, I was even thinking like a frequently asked questions section someplace, especially now that you are knowing what those frequently asked questions are. If that could be something that we perhaps add someplace on Engage Police on our website as the departments are hearing, it's, you know, in that way it takes off a little bit of pressure off of you if you've already answered this question.
Yeah, I mean, the review process has changed a little bit, and that kind of throws some people off that were used to it, you know. But once they started utilizing it and getting, for example, we created a pre-application determination form. That's basically just give us some basic general information, submit some photos with it. You know, if you have any kind of sketch designs, submit those. And then we basically lay out a process for them. We review it and we say, okay, here's what you need to do, A, B, C, D, and E, and you're done. And that seems to work for, you know, a few people, and it's helped them out a lot. Others are now getting more accustomed to the thing and saying, I know I need a minor site plan, here it is, you know, and that's, you know, the minor site plans are the administrative ones. You know, there's no deadline, it's a rolling deadline, takes a little bit more time, but we're adjusting our schedules in the office to try and figure out a good way to balance dealing with those and dealing with the other things that we do on a day-to-day basis. So it's getting there.
And if I could just add, so we, on Engage Kingston, we had the entire kind of form-based code pages that had really the history of the entire process. We've since archived all of that into a separate page. And so if you go to engagekingston.com, Kingston/Kingston-forward, then now the new pages are all set up to guide people on how to use the code. So there is a how to use critics one pager. There's a how to understand our ADU program, how to understand short-term rental regulations. And then at the bottom is a Q&A that Bartek and posts, and so people can ask questions and we respond right there. And so I'm just looking right now, and in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's answered a couple of questions, you know, and so.
Okay. So people are finding their way there.
Yeah, and that seems to be at least maybe a starting place where, again, if we do some sort of meeting, we could post a webinar there. I mean, and that's where we're trying to build out kind of like the help site. So I would check that out if folks haven't had a chance to see that. This just launched, when we did launch the development guide last month, this rolled out with it. I think the development guide got most of the attention, but this website was also a part of that. And I think it'll be really helpful as people go forward. But again, people still like to call and talk to them, but like Sue's pre-application checklist and like forms on here so that people can fill that out and, but.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then please take a vacation at some point.
Ruth Ann. Come tell us what's happening in grants management.
I have something here too, which I emailed everybody today, I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it, but it's our grant activity update.
I saw that you sent it, but I didn't
Let's
see
see
it.
it, look right. Let's see, that's kind of hefty, so.
Yes, it
takes
is.
some time to
Wow.
focus on it. Yes. So we've got that, as far as our projected budget, there isn't anything really huge to say about it. We're gonna really focus on trying to cut back on expenses. The biggest cut is the consultant line, which in the last few years, we've been using for special cases when we have a grant application that requires a particular report, like the RAISE grant, required a benefit cost analysis. And we didn't have anyone on staff with the skill set to be able to use that, so we hired out to do it. That's basically what it's been used for in the past in most instances. And this year, looking forward, I think we're gonna be trying to focus on grants that will be for existing projects more than brand new projects, because we have so much going on that if we do need something special, it would be probably not needed for this year, I'm anticipating. So,
Yeah, very good. New things take a lot of time to get going.
does anyone have questions?
I know the great work you do, and I appreciate it, it's a lot of hard work. You actually show up and work all of us through it, so thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
definitely doing the work.
Yeah, we've been doing, in our department, we took on a few of the ARPA programs that were grant programs for the community, so that's really been pretty time consuming this past year. And that's, I think, what she was referring to.
No, it just takes a lot of patience, so much.
I think when like Kristen Wilson started, right, it was like just like $5 million worth of grants, and it was like a really big deal, and it's amazing how much.
Yeah,
grown.
it's huge. I mean, the current report jumped quite a bit because the RAISE award, it wasn't in the last report, and that was almost 22 million. So it jumped up.
Yeah.
It might jump back down or fall back down again after the Cooper Dam project comes out, because that's completing. It's in the water and sewer section in the back. So, yeah.
And when is that completing? This
I
summer?
believe it's wrapping up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that one will come out, so we'll see a bit of a drop on that one. So it is fluid. We have, of course, money coming in, money going out. It's close.
I look forward to reading this. Seeing all the work you're doing.
We get
Well,
them
it is
like 4 times a year, or two.
Well,
we
we-
get them.
I would like to do it 4 times a year, but it takes quite a lot of time to put this together, so right now it's twice a year. If I can streamline the process to prepare it, I'll kind of use it.
Yeah. And people can find it on Engage, the public can see it on Engage.
Yes, I just
Yeah.
posted the new one today.
If we have questions, because I also wasn't able to look at this today, but if you have questions, email you, or do you
Yeah,
want to
sure.
consolidate anything for your?
You could give me a call or email me, that's fine. Or if you want me to come back in. They're coming to the next finance meeting.
I don't think that's necessary unless I hear from others.
Okay.
But thank you. Appreciate it.
And from your perspective, the ARPA management of the funds and all that, is that put an extra strain, or is that just something that you've been able to flow into what you already do?
It's a lot of work. I mean, Bill came on to kind of oversee that program, but we worked very closely together, and because of the spending plan that we did produce for the city, we have a lot of different projects, and it's just, a big addition.
Yeah, and the grant programs in particular have been very work intensive. Worthy programs certainly, but they've been work intensive, lots of paperwork.
Yeah, some of them are wrapping up pretty soon, but even the application portion of the programs is closed for everything. It still goes on for a while before we can close everything out.
Good. Any other questions, comments?
I'm good.
Thank you.
No, thank you for all the work and bringing money into the city.
And managing it.
And managing it, that's the hard part. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll move to engineering. John Schulteis.
No,
ARPA, ARPA with Bill.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that's fine.
It's part of grants.
It's for the
Part of grants, yeah.
It's part of grants.
How's it going?
It's going great. It's going wonderfully. I really don't have anything much to add to what Ruth Ann said, other than direct your attention to, pages 8 to 33 in her report, which focus on projects that we want to be doing or projects that are ongoing. And I do want to direct your attention to the table at the bottom of page 8, which gives us sort of a real-time status, reportable status of where we are in terms of obligations and expenditures. You may recall that by the end of next year, December 31st, 2024, we need to have monies obligated, or we could actually lose them. And I don't see that happening. We're not going to lose any monies, but we just need to keep our eyes on the prize. And we're actually going to have a substantial increase in obligations, I think, before the end of the year, upwards of another $2 million, $3 million. So we're on track. Other than that, strictly budgetarily, I just want to thank you again for authorizing the office chair and the computer monitor in my office that was purchased in this current budget cycle. That's it. I'm going to have a little bit more detailed report for everybody to look at next month at next month's finance meeting. That's more focused on ARPA.
Okay.
Great, yeah, I'm
Great,
particularly
that'd be
interested in the housing component, where that money has gone.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, housing is one of the big drivers right now. The next P&E report that we file with Treasury, I think we're going to see big jumps in obligations and expenditures in that bucket.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious about the housing and also the infrastructure projects.
Yes,
They're
both.
the report, but I guess just a heads up, that's where, I have my questions and not concerns necessarily, but questions.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I expect infrastructure to almost triple from this number that you're seeing right now in Ruth Ann's report.
Oh,
In short order.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Any questions for Bill? Anything else? Any other ARPA related issues?
We'll ask all our questions next month.
All right. We already got a collection of questions for you, Bill, so get ready.
Send them in.
All right.
You've got my email or phone number, however you want to do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, now we're going to engineering. John Schulteis, tell us about your budget.
How's everybody?
Good, good. How are you?
Great. Probably the biggest single change to point out is that the salary for myself and the other guys in my office in past years, in every year is part engineering, part sewer. And the proportion in the past has been for myself 80% engineering, 20% sewer. And for the other guys, 75% engineering, 25% sewer. With the 2024, we're changing that at the suggestion of the comptroller to be 65% engineering, 35% sewer. So a decrease. That's largely responsible for the salary decrease that you're seeing in the 1440 line. But that does increase the share that's in the sewer 8110 or 8120 line.
So is that simply recognizing where your efforts are placed, or is this more of an?
Yeah, I think yes, between work at the treatment plant and in the collection system, that this makes it more accurate to how we actually spend our time.
Okay. Questions for John? Comments?
I'm looking at the consultants line.
Yes.
Is that work that was done last year that will not need to be done this year?
Well, in past years, that number, I guess, has steadily decreased, not because we actually use fewer consultants. If anything, we use more, but they're typically on larger projects where it's folded into a capital project, often if it's a grant, especially if it's a grant funded project. In the past, that line has been anywhere, it was more commonly around 10,000, but truthfully, I think this year I will use the 5,000. But in most of what we do, if we're using a consultant, it's many times that, and it gets folded into a capital project rather than a consistent annual amount that would go into a budget like this.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Any other issues, concerns?
Nope. Looks good.
All right. Well, you're one of the few people who we say when you're in a hole, keep digging.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
All right. Last of all is common council. So that's us. We've got two issues to consider here. One Andrea wants to bring up.
You want to go first? You
Go first. So part of the increase in salary we mentioned concerning the mayor before, there was also, we had looked at our work compared to other councils that do the same level as we do. And we had increased our salary, it used to be around 8,000, it's now 10,000, right?
Yeah.
And, but what we also talked about doing was adding a cost of living increase every year. Now, we looked at the possibility of including that in some kind of legislation, but we can't do that because it financially encumbers future councils. All right. So in other words, it's this is not written down anywhere, and we haven't done it before. But if we were going to do that right now, the current rate of inflation is 3.2%. And so the question that I'm raising is, do we want to add a cost of living increase, which would, I think, come to around $300 and change, or just leave the pay for the regular pay for council members where it is? So,
I could go, whatever, it's fine with me, but it's really hard to get people to want to run for office because this job is really tough. And, I'm saying it to the folks who are signed up and ready to do the work, but, we all know that there were 10 of us, one of us was unopposed. And as nice as it was, especially with my workload, to be unopposed, I don't know, I think that's a sign of people not wanting to run for office. And I think that democracy is a better served if we have people who are going to want to do it. I don't know if a 3% raise is gonna do much of anything, but I think.
It's leading me to rethink running again.
But, I just think that we shouldn't have it where we have almost all of us unopposed. I don't think that's fair to the community, and I know that's kind of weird to say, especially since it was very helpful to be unopposed, but that's just not the way democracy should operate, and this may be one way of enticing others to step up to want to serve.
Well, and I will say too, when we did the research, I remember 10,000 was kind of in the middle. So, and just talking to some other people who know how much work we do, I've been encouraged that we should increase it significantly more. But I'm not wedded to that idea. So, at the very least, I would be in favor of the cost of living increase, and perhaps do another study and see where we are next year. See about whether or not to continue that practice or increase the pay further. So this is, we can talk about this now, make a decision now, or we can move to Andrea's suggestion and see what both of them might mean for the common council budget.
Yeah, I think since mine is also a financial impact, if it's okay, I'll describe what I'm asking for and then ponder everything. So what I'm asking for, advocating for, is a council consultant that would work with us. It wouldn't be an employee of the city, and they would be an hourly job, not like I said, not an employee. So the idea is, in the last 6 years that I've served, since COVID especially, I think Kingston has become a lot more engaged, and I think that's partly because of our hybrid method now. So we have a lot more, which is all great news. We're expected to do more. In my experience, my first term versus after COVID, there's a larger demand of what we're supposed to do, and I also think that we have become more proactive with what we've done. And Rennie, since you've been serving as longer than me, you might be able to speak on that too, is we are a more proactive body. What I would like is to see some of our needs fulfilled by this council consultant, and some of them that I have come up with conversations from some of you, is to satisfy our oversight responsibilities. We do have that, and there's just a lot of things that we can't do. It's like we're swimming against the tide. Swimming against the tide with all the work that we're doing, and there are some things that we just can't do. So that would be to help us stay on track with, okay, this is when you have to do this is when you have to do that, and make sure it happens. To help us with research, which is probably the biggest one, that should have been number one for me, is so that we're informed on all topics. So for an example, Sarah did quite a bit of research after the apprenticeship and pulled things from municipalities. That kind of stuff to do proactively when they could look at the agenda and say, this is what could be helpful to have this information. Also with that, a few months ago, we established 48-hour rule. And that means anybody who has anything on the agenda has to give us any information that we need 48 hours in advance, because a lot of us work full-time. You know, this is not a full-time position, to give us the time, and this way that person can track, okay, we, you know, maybe reach out to department heads, that they also don't have to do that. Which again, with my third point is kind of to be a bridge. I wrote to bridge between bridges. I think I wrote that wrong. To be a bridge between the department heads for any agenda item. This is stuff that I attempt to do. I can't manage it all, and this would also allow my position to be able to do more substantive work versus a lot of the administrative work that I have been doing and this position has been doing. So that could kind of elevate this role that I'm in too. So that could just better us. Sometimes I feel like we're on this little islands where we're connected to the city, but we're not really. And I think this could be something that could help. But like I said, the main thing is research. I think would be super, super helpful, and to help us with oversight responsibilities. So some of the more specific, I already mentioned a few, research issues, track the 48-hour rule, which would help us, but it would also help the department heads, so they could, the consultant could reach out, hey, I see you're on the agenda, is there anything? They're like, oh yeah, they have 1,000 things on their plate that they're juggling to help them. I already mentioned the oversight. Then potentially assist with smaller tasks, but again, if I'm not doing some of these things, then I could do that. Like Elisa had wanted us to start tracking and sending the obituaries to the clerk's office. So things like that could help us out. And then of course, the vouchers, John and I have talked about it, and Barbara's talked about it, because I know that was a complaint when a few of you joined, and it made us kind of think about it, which we didn't, because for us, it was just something that we did. So kind of a little history behind that, and John, if you wanted to jump in and correct me or just add to it, feel free. The vouchers are the ones that we signed. Yeah, and there were some, not concerns, but questions about what's the reasoning for it. So the reason is for oversight.
Oversight.
And again, it's not for John, but it's for the office. You know, the more oversight that everybody has, the better for, so that's what it is, but it has become, and I think over many years ago, because it was before my time, council members did pay attention to it. It has become just a sign while we're catching up and talking about, you know, next steps for the meetings. So it's not really serving the purpose that it was supposed to do.
Right.
To just eliminate it though means that we're getting rid of an oversight that I will not advocate for us to get rid of. So the idea would be to train this person to know when to spot any red flags in the vouchers and then bring it to our attention if it's necessary. But you know, if you've been reading a lot of those vouchers, there is not necessarily for us to, three of us to read each one. So that would be the plan. We're still working out details on how that would work in terms of, would we still need to sign it? We could just, or maybe I would just be the one that signs it, or we actually authorize them to be the ones that sign it. So, I mean, so there's still a little things up in the air about that, but that was another task. It's not one of the bigger ones, but I think it will,
I think it's an important one. I mean, having sat on another city council, this was not a responsibility that we had at all, signing off on the vouchers. And when I'm going through them, I don't have any context for really understanding if an invoice that I'm getting is appropriate, inappropriate, too small, too large. I don't really know, and I can't know the budget to that extent. And I'm also find that it gets in the way of because if I'm busy signing here, it gets in the way of my listening to the presenters who are here. So if there is someone who could be more familiar with the budget, who could do that oversight. I mean, I know I think in the council that I sat on, if the amount was over a certain amount, then it would go to the council to look at. But for some of the smaller invoices that we're signing off on, like $1.05 or, 10 cents, it just doesn't, it seems like it's, at least for me, it feels like it's an interference with my being able to think and pay attention to the
Right,
issues that are really significant.
And that's my whole goal with this consulting position is to allow us to be able to do more or better constituent service, kind of, you know, for me to be able to do more substantive work versus administrative work. And just to be, especially with the research, because there are some times that we just don't think about it until after the fact, you know, we miss stuff. And then this person could hopefully help us not miss things. And like I said, the other thing is to get a little bit more of a connection between the administration. And that may be what I end up doing more of, which I would like to do more of, but with all the administrative work, it is a little bit tricky to manage everything when this is, you know, doesn't pay enough for me to quit the day job. Not that I have a day job right now, not one that pays. And the other thing that I also, as I was like writing this up real quickly, was maybe that we also talk about doing more of a common council social media thing, and then maybe I could do that, not have the consultant again. Like a lot of these little tasks, jobs, it would open up some of you to be able to make smarter, or I shouldn't say smarter, but more informed decisions. And for me to be able to do more work for the body by assigning them some of the tasks.
Just one other task to add is something that Barbara, I don't, if you said this already, I apologize. But Barbara Grace Poller suggested that we keep track of all of the legislation that we approve. And so this person would be in charge of doing that. So having a folder. So for example, I was looking for something that we passed, and I knew it was about 18 months ago, but trying to find it in our current website and going through and looking and trying to navigate the calendar, it took me a long time to find it. And so this would be a quick way of keeping track of what we've passed so that when we do have questions about past legislation, we have somebody who can tell us.
Yeah, thank you, because Barbara and I did talk about that, I forgot to add that on. That would be really helpful. Just have a room full of binders that we could just have them. They would just help make informed decisions. So
If we know what's been done in the
easier.
past, we can refer to.
So what I'm thinking, and this could be, you know, discussed and tweaked, but what I was thinking is, like I said, an hourly. In terms of hiring, I think it's important that it comes from our body, but maybe it could be like a me, majority leader, at one other council member, as, you know, doing that so that it's not just coming from one person. So those are the kind of finer details that I haven't worked out, because I wanted to hear what your thoughts and questions are.
So whose supervision? Would you be supervising this?
Yes.
position?
Are you saying you
Well,
want
is
to?
it, was
Yeah,
it
well, I
consultant
just wanted
job, so it's not, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be the employer, they wouldn't be an employee, but they would be a consultant for the council.
Yeah, but somebody has to do that.
Yeah.
That would be you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say, as Andrea said, Renee, I've been here quite some time. And I can certainly attest that the job has changed dramatically in the 10 years that I've already served. There is so much more to do. When I started here, nobody came to common council meetings. I mean, you could literally hear the crickets chirping in there. Now it's packed almost every meeting. There's, you know, sometimes hundreds of people here. We didn't have that when I first started. I mean, you came and, not that you're lazy, but there wasn't that, I don't know, overwhelming sense that you better be prepared tonight because you're gonna have 200 people out there listening to what you're saying, and you better be prepared. You know, it's definitely different. We have to do more homework now. You know, there's more things, and even the vouchers. And I remember when I first started, I'm like going over these things like I knew what I was doing. And finally I said, there is not enough hours in a day to go over this box of vouchers. And And I'm not an accountant, what do I know anyway? Okay, we're paying for a bottle of water. Do I know? I don't know anything about this bottle of water.
Sorry,
So-
I should have muted. But, you know, if I may, if I may, you guys might want to just ask yourselves if it's worth your time to go through all these vouchers and ask yourself, I mean, have
That
you?
is something that we're talking about. I mean, not just in this conversation, but.
I mean,
yeah,
I know
we're-
it does take up a lot of time, and I guess maybe ask yourself, well, have you ever rejected a voucher? Have you ever sent it back? I don't know. I mean, if that's been done on a regular basis, and it's definitely worth your time.
I think I questioned a couple in the beginning, but it was always a good reason for it. I got a satisfactory explanation, so, okay, that's that, but, you know, and during COVID, when we had to come up here and sign vouchers, I'd be sitting in that office by myself for an hour and a half sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many vouchers.
Vouchers that however long, I mean, every single voucher is signed. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like during that time, it was, when we're coming in one-on-one, I was able to look at them more very efficiently and really read through them. So,
Or if you are going to review them, figure out electronic signature or something that might ease your burden a little bit.
No.
No.
Yeah, no. It was hard enough doing committee report scans during COVID.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
Is this council consultant, is there a job description? for this
No,
person or
because
something we're
it
creating?
doesn't, yeah, this would be something that we're creating, so I'm asking for support from this body so that we can then
Do we want
create
to put
that.
something in the budget now, or are we just kind of talking about this?
Ideally, I would like to put it in the budget, so we have it ready to go,
So like 300,000?
I'll take it down.
yes, take the position.
So, John, I'd be curious to hear what you think about this, sir.
I mean, in terms of, you know, I can only weigh in on like the voucher part. I mean,
Right.
you know, I always welcome additional oversight. I mean, for my department, obviously, I'm very familiar with procurement policy. I'm familiar with general municipal law to the extent that applies to finances. You know, we do a thorough review of, you know, the vouchers are already reviewed. I mean, in terms of
Right, and I can see the
just,
signatures
but,
on
you know, internally, you know, the department submits generally, larger departments, it's, you know, there might be a clerk who prepares the voucher, the vouchers are signed by a department head, they come over to us. My accounts payable clerk, reviews them because, you know, she's very good and she catches things, and then eventually they get to me, but once again, you know, I always welcome any additional oversight and review. I understand you have a fiduciary responsibility to look at them. I just want you to also have a comfort level in the review we're doing. You know, years ago, some of that review was done by some of the, you know, before the council, I believe, was looking at vouchers. There were Parks and Rec Commission, and different commissions. Steve, you recall that back when the commissions were reviewing vouchers? So, you know, I'm kind of neutral to it. I mean, it's not really gonna affect what we do. You know, so whatever we can do to help, and it's, I would just recommend we're talking about a consultant just to keep, you're not hiring a consultant, you're not just, because once again, a consultant, you're going to engage with a consultant to bring him on, and you're gonna ask that consultant to perform certain tasks. And you're gonna have some independent thinking associated with that.
Right.
And they're gonna work at their direction. And, you know, and I can have offline discussions with any of you about, you know, employee versus consultant, how it's important making those designations because right, so there are impacts for structuring this to ensure that it is a consultant, but, other than that, no, I don't really have much of I understand it could be very helpful in terms of your other work as well, so.
How many
You have
hours
some
are
kind
you
of figure in
thinking?
mind?
Yeah.
Can I, just with that, so I don't say the wrong term, because I know I'm saying consultant, I know we've talked and we know we're on the same path.
Yes.
And I say hire,
I would say engage. Hire
Engage,
is a
right.
term you would generally use for bringing on an employee. Hourly is typically something that I think of as an employee type relationship. Normally, like with a consultant, typically, I'm thinking more task oriented, right? So, whether it's like a monthly amount or something like that. But I can work with you on that. I mean, I have some guidelines and I'm sure we have some sample contracts. Barbara would have some information.
Yeah, you don't wanna say the.
Yeah, that's okay. When you get into the details, I mean, I can give you some guidelines as to what I look for, waivers and contracts.
Okay, you have to go back.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, so your question was.
Yeah, like hour, what are you thinking for hours and how do we then
Let's
actually
talk about
get someone?
compensation.
Yeah, because it will be, it's
Committed.
not a job, it's not, so it has to be somebody, I was thinking, it would be an attractive position for somebody who's young and is interested in this kind of line of work, but, maybe is a student or maybe is just a young professional starting out, doesn't mind doing or wants an extra, side hustle in this line of work. I mean, I'm kind of pulling this number out of thin air, but I was thinking more like 15,000 to start off with allotting. But, I mean, I honestly I did some research, but I haven't really found too much of what I'm, in line with, so I would love to hear your opinions on that.
Where would this money be coming?
Well, that's why we're talking about it in our budget right now, so that we can figure out where this money would come from.
And how many hours a week does that translate into 15,000? What do you think in terms of hours per week?
I had that math figured out, and now it's out of my head. What is it?
And once again, I would recommend that you do it more based on task rather than hourly. To the extent, like.
Right, but we still have to estimate roughly.
Sure, you're
how many
gonna
hours
estimate-
are these
estimate.
tasks going to take?
Correct.
Because we
I mean-
we can figure out how many hours it takes to sign the vouchers.
Well, if you estimate, if you have an understanding of the task that you're asking this person to do, you should have an idea of how many hours a month it roughly would take. You're not necessarily gonna count those hours, and then it'll help you determine what an appropriate amount might be that you would pay a consultant to do that type of work.
Right, because we can estimate probably based on the amount of time we're putting in on research and other things.
Yeah, and some of it would be, once the task is complete, that's it, it's done. But then we could also say, well, I'll take on those tasks if they're doing some other things that I have been doing. But I would imagine that, for each meeting, researching the issues, some meetings we wouldn't require anything, but imagine it's a few hours of research per month. That sounds fair to think?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking too about paying them somewhere in the realm of $18 to $20 an hour, we're talking about 18 to 20 hours a week. So.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't even be that much. And that was the 15,000?
Thought so. I mean,
I don't know, so we need to do a little more research ourselves.
Yeah, I just think, like I said, I kind of
it's worth
wanted
thinking
to.
about because, yeah, it's a lot of work.
It is.
Plus, they're
It
dealing with
makes-
the constituents. I mean, I get calls all the time now.
Right.
Yeah, I get at least one or two issues
Every
a
day,
day.
yeah.
It's
I mean, even I
Yeah.
still get some, and I'm not, in the position that I typically do, that you would think, and that really picked up during COVID too. When people started calling us even more organized over that. Yes. Yeah, so I could try it, and like I said, I did a little bit of research, it's just kind of hard to find a model for what I'm thinking, because I just haven't been able to track one down, but I could, if everybody's supportive of the idea, I could see if I could put something a little bit more.
yes, maybe when we do the budget roundup, but that would also be the time to think about where the money would come from.
Right.
Yeah, and I certainly don't think it's a bad idea. Things have changed drastically.
And it just, gives us opportunity to be even better too, so. Is there a number that anybody feels comfortable with, or are you really just gonna?
I think right now I'm supportive in the theory of it and the idea of it. It's really just trying to narrow down the actual tasks, the money, the supervision, and really how it's gonna work.
Right, well, do you have any guidance on like where your hard line no would be in terms of time? Because we could, it's not that the thing is, it's like, it's with the money, it's like, we'll just, if it's less than I was anticipating, then that's fine, we'll just do less tasks. Well, you know, anything is going to be better than what we have now. So if you guys wanna say $3,000, that's still $3,000 worth of tasks that will make us to be a stronger body, so. If anybody, think about it, and please let me know if there's a number that you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna go over that. I'd really appreciate to hear any feedback.
Okay.
My concern is if it's even just too low, that we wouldn't even be able to get anybody. Like, just, you know, we've seen other departments not be able to get part-time people, right? And then we've had to bump up to full-time. And I know this is not an employee, but it just.
Yeah, well, I think
we could run into the same issue.
I think it really needs to be somebody who wants a side job, because I mean, that's all it really would be. So I'm hoping that will be more attractive than a part-time job. But, because they'll have to have another job.
Yeah, they're gonna have another job, which will, you know, for their, you know, schedule, right? So to be really to juggle.
It could be done though.
No, it can be.
It can be done, but yeah.
And then there are people like me who are semi-retired I have a number of little side hustles, you know, and consulting jobs I do. So it could be somebody like that too, who has more experience with organization and research and a lot of other things. But,
yeah, that's.
Because I do know a number of people my age, you know, who are out there who are semi-retired and
just want a little something and.
Yeah, something to do also too, but something that sort of utilizes their skills for which they're getting, you know, a small amount of money. But feeling very useful and engaged and other things, so.
But like I said, I'm really open to any suggestions, I just would really like to see this happen. And, you know, we can consider this a pilot year and see how it goes and make tweaks along the year, throughout the year, I mean, or just at the end of the year, but. You know, with the engagement that Kingston is in right now, and I don't see that lessening, and I think it's great. You know, our work, we could really use the assist.
My calculations are correct. If we did $20 an hour, at roughly 15 hours a week for 50 weeks, thinking 2 weeks off, I think that comes out to about $15,000.
15 hours a week may be too much, I don't know.
Might be, but
we'll see.
But well, the other thing is $15,000, I think, can draw somebody half that, you know, you start to get to a point where people aren't going to apply because it's not going to be enough money.
Right, that's right.
But I can think of tasks. Otherwise.
Write your jokes.
Write my jokes, there you go.
And do all his other work so that he could spend time writing his jokes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, 15,000 was what I felt right, but that was just a gut feeling. So why don't you sit with that number?
Yeah.
And if you could reach out to me with any thoughts, concerns, tasks, anything like that. Except joke writing.
Start a GoFundMe page.
Socrates in a Plato post walking into a bar.
I know we talked about like having all the past legislation in a binder, but I think it actually would be really great to have a page on the website that's like the council and then it catalogs everything.
Oh, yeah, have you ever
Digitally.
tried to find our resolutions?
Right, but do it in a way
Thank you for
that's
that.
like City of Rochester had like their council page is really great and you can go in and find everything. That way the community can do it, we can do it, otherwise we'd have to come in and like look in a binder. It's kind of antiquated to me.
But see, that's exactly what we could have this
Yeah,
person do,
like
is and even
scanning,
think
yeah.
beyond, you know, have that person really think through
Digitize
what are the
everything.
best ways to communicate with the public. It's a great idea.
Yeah, because I was trying to find a piece of legislation because it's constituent asked, and something we passed this year, so I knew it, but I couldn't remember which month it was.
Yeah.
And to have to go through and say, okay, let me check August 2023 and go through the whole thing, and let me check July 2023. Luckily, it only took me 2 months, so I had a rough idea, but yeah, it's a
But if you go back
nuisance.
further than a year, a lot of agendas aren't on the website. And so you've got to figure out which committee it might have been in, and then you've got to go and look at their agendas. Sometimes it's not there either. So.
You gotta remember what the weather was.
Yeah. I just think there's no
I know, things that trigger.
For something I remember, yeah, it was like really cold that.
It's actually serious.
The monthly agendas and I got it that way.
That's so funny.
It took a lot of work.
And sometimes I call Elisa or call me.
Yeah, and
Find
they're,
it, yeah.
they're great,
Yeah.
you know, but it's just something that we could,
No,
it would
right.
be like, when the constituent reached out to me, I knew it. I knew we talked, I remember the discussions, I remember us voting on it. But it took, 15 minutes of going through and it should be a click, so I like that idea. Yeah, because then we could just do it on our laptops
Right.
too, so. Yeah,
So we're done with that?
no, I'm gonna keep going.
I would say, in light of that, I would, be okay with not having, cost of living increase.
Let me see what I'm about to say, though. We actually have $500 in our budget that is not assigned. Because there's $500 in there for the minority leader, but there is no minority leader.
There we go.
Oh, well,
Problem solved.
500,
So you're-
No, I'm sorry, but
Just move that $50 to each position, each of the 10 positions. That keeps our budget where it is,
except for this addition that we're talking about.
which I think is, significant, but it's different.
I would be fine with that, it's an insignificant amount. It's not impacting the budget, and it does show that we're, going in the direction that I believe that we probably should be going. As uncomfortable as it is to say. It's not comfortable to give, yourself grace. But it's more about the position, which is the same thing with the mayor. I mean, Steve deserves it, but it's more about the mayor deserves it, right? And so it's the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing with us. It's not actually about us, it's about the position.
Right, because there will be others who come after us, for whom this will make a difference potentially.
Yeah.
And the dilemma is that when Steve and I first started, this was really undervalued precisely because people didn't want to vote for a raise, but by doing it as a cost of living increase, we say, look, this is fair, we make it normal, and then it's not a political decision every year. It's more.
Right, it's the standard.
Perhaps there's another thing too to talk to constituents about, because I think Rennie said something about when he talks to people, and says how much we earn. Everybody that I've talked to is like, that's it, really? Most people are surprised by it, so maybe in the next week, 2 weeks until our wrap up is another thing that everybody could be doing, is just to see what your people feel about that. No, I mean, because everybody's like, no, that's ridiculous, then that will probably guide your thoughts, when people agree with what Rennie and I have kind of argued here, but not argued, sorry.
No, I think a lot, years ago, it's sort of council political service was seen as a community service, and it wasn't really rewarded financially. And typically in communities, there would be retired people who might take a position on the council, and they already had a retirement, so they didn't really need the money. When I started working on the council in Beacon, we were earning $3,000 a year.
But we also want to be
And that
able
was
to,
15 years ago, but still, now they're up to 9, so they're catching up with us, but
also
still,
want to be,
but people over time, so I think the idea of being in government and community service has changed, it's a job, and we work hard, and we spend a lot of hours working on behalf of our constituents, and at least the people I talk to, like people you talk to, also recognize that.
and
It's work.
And I think the other thing is kind of based off what you said, we also want to attract different kinds of voices too. So we don't want only people who can afford to do this work.
Correct, that's right.
You know, who don't
That's
have to
another thing.
have two jobs to be able to afford it. This could be something that they could do to help, you know, so they don't, they could not take that second job maybe. And also maybe not necessarily more, to get more young people to do it. Not that I'm saying the whole council should be, I think it should be arranged, but to have separate voices, I think having a slight bump could help that potentially. Sorry, that was really awkward, this sounds very.
But we understood what you meant.
Yeah, of course, that will be what's quoted in the paper tomorrow, so I'm like.
Council arranges a slight bump for itself.
It's been a very long week.
We in fact have one last issue for which we need to go into executive session, so I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel issue. Motion.
Second.
You have to invite them too, I think.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor of inviting John?
Aye.
Aye. You only got 2 votes.
Barbara, if you want to call, we have the conference number, or, let me just text her.
Have a good night, everybody.
Oh,
Good night.
yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, he knows.
I was wondering, like, yeah, I got, you're right, I was staying here for the whole, yeah.
Can you give me like 2 minutes to call Barbara and try this?
Back on.
All right. It's gonna be a weird jump, thing. All right.
Yeah, so,
Mayor
so one last thing before we go home tonight, I would like to just ask that the council consider an amendment to my recommended budget to be able to adjust the director of IT's salary and the regular pay line to $111,380. And so I'd like that to be considered by the council.
And we're all in favor of this move?
Yes.
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 Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Well,
Thank you for
your time.
Thank you for sitting over here and waiting for us.
And thank you for the quick action.
Yeah.
Always happy to reward excellent service.
That's it.
Are we done?
That's it. We stand adjourned. We sit adjourned. Second, all in favor?
Thanks, Elisa. Good night.
So our next meeting is Tuesday.
Have a good night, guys.
Oh, Kwame, thank you.
Thanks, Juan.